Chris Mannix, the senior NBA writer, Sports Illustrated, as Andrew Bynum. He's on the move, but he's not stopping in Chicago. And Luol Deng goes to the Cleveland Cavaliers. All right, let's assess this trade. Give me the angle from the Cavs. We'll start there. They get rid of Bynum, and they get Luol Deng. What are they going to do with Luol Deng?
Well, they're going to play him, which is exactly what he's done for the last 3 years with the Bulls. Remember, 2 of the last 3 years, Dan, Luol Deng has led the NBA in minutes. He was Tom Thibodeau's favorite player. He's a glue guy. He's a winner. He's a defender. He's a great locker room guy. In a lot of ways, Luol Deng is just what the doctor ordered for this Cleveland team that has been without leadership, has been without a veteran presence, and certainly has been without a small forward of any kind since LeBron James left. I mean, that's probably the weakest position on that Cavaliers roster. I think this is a great acquisition for Cleveland. Look, they had draft picks they could burn. They've been stockpiling them for the last 2 years. They could afford to deal that protected Sacramento pick over to Chicago in this type of deal. And Deng, remember, he's only 28 years old. It seems like he's in his early 30s because he's been playing forever and he's been playing big minutes. But he came out of Duke after that 1 year, and he's been playing for a long time. But he's only 28. So this guy, next year and going forward, if he fits in this Cleveland system, which I think he will, I think the Cavaliers will be willing to open the vault and give him that $11 to $12 million per year deal that he was looking for Chicago. So from Cleveland's perspective, this could help them get into the playoffs this year, which has been the Cavaliers' plan all along.
All right, the Bulls, is this front office tanking?
Well, it's certainly not Tom Thibodeau doing this because, like I said, Deng is Thibodeau's favorite player. He plays him the most. He relies on him the most. He's a big-time asset for Thibodeau. But, yeah, look, the Bulls, when they decided not to go above $10 million per year for Luol Deng, they made a decision there. They said they're going to go with Jimmy Butler as that swingman of the future and allow Deng to walk in free agency. So he was going one way or the other, whether it was now or at the end of the season. So in return, they get that first-round pick, a couple of second-round picks, the right to swap with Cleveland in the 2015 draft. The pick this year with Sacramento, a little misleading what's out there. It's top 12 protected, and barring some miraculous turnaround by DeMarcus Cousins, they're not going to wind up outside of the top 12. So they're probably not going to get that pick this year. But going forward, they'll have another way of getting that pick. And for the Bulls, getting that asset, falling into the lottery this year, whereas I think you mentioned the draft obviously is loaded, that could give them a leg up on rebuilding this team in the future. The other shoe, Dan, that is probably going to drop, I feel like, in the next summer, is the Bulls can still amnesty Carlos Boozer. He's still a guy that they can ship out and reduce his salary off the books. Boozer has not, he's been okay for them, but he hasn't gotten the job done in the postseason. I could see them amnestying Boozer this summer and completely overhauling this team behind a lottery pick this year, presumably Derrick Rose next year, and a guy like Jimmy Butler and Joakim Noah in the future.
I wonder what Derrick Rose thinks of this. Now, I know he's not playing, but if he doesn't get hurt, is Luol Deng traded?
I doubt it because I don't think they'd be in a much better position than they are right now, nipping at the heels of the number 8 seed. They'd probably be right in the mix, 2, 3, 4 seed, and I think they'd probably keep that team together because Chicago would explode if they broke it up then. I mean, everybody in Chicago knows the value of Luol Deng. I can't underscore this enough, Dan. This guy's a terrific player. I mean, he does so many things on the floor, and this year I believe he's averaging a career high in points per game and right around 19 per game in only 23, 24 games he's played because of injuries. So this guy can play. I can't fathom a scenario where the Bulls would give him up, not for the type of assets they got in return, which is basically future considerations and nothing that's going to help them right now.
He's Chris Mannix from Sports Illustrated joining us, Dan Patrick Show. How close did the Lakers come to completing this Bynum deal?
Not really close, because this was sort of a weird game of chicken where both these teams are staring at each other, where Cleveland's saying, I'm giving you Andrew Bynum and cap flexibility. What are you giving us back? And the Lakers are saying, I'm giving you Pau Gasol and a player that you can use right now. What are you giving us back? Both these teams, from what I've been able to gather in the last 48 hours, wanted something in return for the asset they were giving up. And if you have that situation, you're never going to get a deal done. No question, the Cavaliers badly wanted Pau Gasol. They still have that hole in the middle. They don't have a true center playing Anderson Varejao a lot of minutes at that 5 spot, but they were never going to give up a Dion Waiters or a Varejao or a Tristan Thompson just to get Pau Gasol, who very likely would walk at the end of the year to go to a contender to finish his final few years. So the principles of the deal were always consistent, Bynum and Gasol. But as we've seen in the past, I mean, you can't make any type of deal like this without trade it without draft pick assets, and neither one of those teams is willing to give it up.
Best guess the Lakers' game plan the next 2 years is what?
No, you got me. I don't know. You give Kobe all that money, and I don't know what their game plan is. I mean, even the best-case scenario assumed, whether Carmelo signs there, LeBron signs there, that team's not a championship contender. That team doesn't win anything in the Western Conference, which is full of young, talented teams. I honestly don't know what the end game is here. I mean, next year, I see more of the same. Kobe comes back. You're going to lose Gasol anyway because in order to sign one of the aforementioned guys, you have to renounce the rights to Gasol, and if you do that, you're not going to get him back anyway. So you're talking about having a two-star system where you've got two stars like a Carmelo, who's more likely than LeBron, obviously, and Kobe, who are volume shooters. I don't know any scout or coach in the world that will tell you that a Carmelo Anthony Kobe Bryant marriage is a good fit on the floor. It just is two ball dominating guys. So I don't know what the end game is unless you hit a home run this year's draft. I think I've said this on your show before, Dan. Unless you get that number one overall pick and can draft Wiggins or Parker or Julius Randle, other than that, I don't see what the end game is.
How did this Carmelo to the Clippers for Blake Griffin rumor get started?
I honestly have no idea about that either, because from my understanding, and I checked in with people in New York right away, and there was something that they've talked about. They've talked about a lot of scenarios when it comes to Carmelo Anthony, because Carmelo is scaring the crap out of them right now with the way they're playing and the fact that he's somewhat seems like he's somewhat less committed to coming back than maybe he was a year and a half ago. So from the Knicks' perspective, it makes some sense. But the Clippers, look, Blake Griffin and Chris Paul are not best of friends, but you don't deal a player that age with that kind of upside for Carmelo Anthony, who's got maybe 3 or 4 years left at the top of his career. So I don't see that deal was ever going to be a possibility. But from Carmelo's perspective, the Knicks' perspective, they're exactly in the same position of the LA Lakers, Dan. You bring Carmelo back, and it's like Groundhog's Day all over again. You're going to repeat this next year because you have no cap flexibility. Iman Shumpert is your only real tradable asset. You don't have a draft pick to deal till 2018. You're going to bring this guy back under a bigger contract and expect this team to be any better than it is this year because maybe you make a coaching change that might net you a guy like John Calipari. I don't see how that's possibly going to make this team better. So it's a similar situation where I think if you're the Knicks, you make a deal for Carmelo Anthony right now. You trade him right now to one of the handful of teams that really could use him. And I've written about this in the magazine the last couple of weeks, Dan. You trade him to Cleveland, which still has some draft picks to deal. You put him alongside Kyrie Irving. That's a great fit. You trade him to Dallas. Put him alongside Dirk Nowitzki. That's a great fit for him out down there. Where he is right now and possibly the Lakers next year, those are two fits that guarantee two things. Carmelo puts up a lot of money, or makes a lot of money, and doesn't win.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, Dan.
All right, Chris Mannix, Sports Illustrated NBA writer. He gets, words per minute. He's up there. He's a league leader.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.